Welcome back to the REI Hot Seat. Happy New Year. Welcome to the new season 2023 of REI Hot Seat. Jake, thanks for being here as always.
Yeah, you're most welcome.
Yeah, so today is going to be an interesting deal. Jake just had something come across his desk. We were asking, what are we going to talk about today? And storage and land severance and car wash.
Yes, sir.
I like that combo.
A little bit of a mixed bag, but it's very exciting play. And I thought, hey, you know what? Even if we don't have everything polished for today, let's still dive into it because it's a great opportunity that I want to literally have the conversation with you about and go through it right now. This is pretty much our first time talking about it.
So, I mean, one of the nice takes is, and it's not just because we haven't got to it yet, is kind of seeing the thought process here. I thought it'd be a cool episode to talk about, Jake's thought process, his due diligence process when he's initially analyzing a deal before mentioning to it or, bringing it to a client. So car wash, I'll throw out there right off the bat. I've loved the idea of car wash for a long time. And I'll say as an additional point, it's one of those things where you get numbers from the owner if you got, that 80-year-old Italian who runs the place.
It's paid off, no mortgage.
Yeah, no mortgage, and doesn't really seem to track their income and expenses very well. Yeah, a lot of stuff like, it's cash business, right?
Yeah.
So there's probably a lot of stuff that maybe we'll say doesn't hit the book. I have a feeling
he's probably bringing in 65 a year on it.
Yeah.
Right? Like every other car wash in the world. That's the magic number.
Yeah. But you're saying they all just somehow have 65,000?
Every time I run it, it's like, oh yeah, our gross, we're just 65 is what we take in, right? And that's the whole point. It's a cash business.
It's a cash business. So it's just, buyer beware when you're trying to buy one. It's tough to get financials that really encompass it. Now, of course, the owners will always say, oh, our income's way higher than what we can show.
There's always a good story there.
There's a story for all of it.
And in hand, Andrew, that goes with also being having a challenge to get financing to actually buy the thing.
Yeah, so that's going to create a problem, right? When you don't show income. Now, of course, like if you go to a good maybe credit union, they probably understand, there's some stuff here that I like working with lenders that use a common sense approach, which they certainly will to a degree. But there are implications there. A lot of banks won't like it. Now, this one specifically, you mentioned to me before we started rolling, they weren't really fully operating. Tell me the story about
that. Well, let's go back from there. Let's just go through what the product is, right?
So, what is it? Where is it? And what's the story?
So this is a self-wash car wash, right? So you're not driving through, it's not the auto spa. It's, we have 8 bays, so 8 wash bays and 2 tunnel washes, meaning the bays are where you go in and you get the hose and you put the soaps in and you spray your car. Yeah. Right. And then the tunnel wash is actually your traditional drive through. There's one tunnel wash that's a touchless and the other tunnel wash is prepared and set up to be light touch. So more of your rollers and things like that. Okay. But it's not operational at the moment.
So the touchless is?
The touchless is.
And touchless is generally what car enthusiasts would want.
Or they go to the bay. The bay's even
better. Bay's even better. I won't even go to a touchless.
Yeah. So we have that. On top of that, we have, from memory, 6 vacuums. So coin-operated vacuums. Okay. And then we have, which makes it very interesting, we have a 0.6 of an acre of excess land on the site. Yeah,
and that's the part, we'll jump into that because that's super, super interesting. Yeah.
So the whole site right now is 1.6 acres.
1.6.
So the car wash is 1 acre in total. And then plus you storage. Have the grass and the field next door, which is the 0.6.
Okay, yeah. So this second parcel of land is just a grass field, 0.6 acres, fronting on the road. So seems like it would be a good play for what you said was potentially storage.
Yeah, that was my immediate thought to say, how can we add more to a cash business, right? And storage is what came to mind.
And what's he want for the whole thing?
So for the whole thing, the asking price is 1.8.
So Jake, you mentioned that it was 6 bays and then there's 2 drive-through car washes. Yep. I mean, I just ran some quick numbers, just like hypotheticals, because I know I never spend less than $20 when I go to the car wash and like in the bay. So by the time I do the rinse code and then the soap code and then you do the high pressure soap and then you want to do the little rain coating or the rain repellent at the end. So I'm always spending like $20 minimum. So say you could get 3 people through a bay in an hour. You totally could. Like 20 minutes in there is all you really need. I mean, this would be like full capacity for 12 hours a day. I mean, I think there's potential to earn like 1 bay $720 a day. Like car wash is a scalable business if you're busy. If you're busy, right? Yeah. Saturdays you might get that. Weekdays you might not. Yep. But you could extrapolate and run some numbers and find out that hey, there's a way to get even a 6 bay. I mean, I think you could probably get into hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. Yeah. And this is just totally shooting from the hip.
Well, yeah, and here's the thing: we can investigate. All of this information can be investigated. It's not like we're saying, hey, go in blind and just bank on
this is like very, very intro, like initial thoughts at hearing a concept of a deal. That's what this episode is. Yeah. So
when I saw this deal, like I'll break my thought down.
Okay, break your thoughts down.
Why I wanted to take this on and why I wanted this deal, and I thought, hey, this looks really good. Well, first off, I love car washes, right? Cash business. Right, it's a little underperforming, so obviously we're going to be getting a deal on that. Right, we're not going to be buying it based off of income, because there really is no income.
And did you say this guy didn't even have like a Google Places, or he wasn't really doing marketing with it?
Nothing like that.
So it wasn't really being pushed. He hasn't provided any financials, so it's
very minimal. Right?
And it's nothing nothing that the bank's going to really
That's it.
Be happy about.
The bank would they wouldn't even look at it. Right. Yeah. So basically, we're buying this off of there's almost no income generated.
Yeah, for all intents and purposes, unless you find a really open-minded, semi-institutional lender, you're kind of like private money in your head. Let's stabilize this asset. That's kind of the play.
Right? So that's what I like about it as well. So it's not a stabilized car wash. It's rather a value-add car wash, right? You're picking it up of somebody that hasn't operated it to the full capacity, and we're going to take it and do what we do and make it much better. On top of that, the bays are all nice high-end bays. The tunnel wash is all, again, high-end. It was only built 10 years ago.
Oh, so that's really cool.
It's poured concrete. Everything's poured concrete, steel roof. So the structure itself is like bomb-proof. It's awesome. So really, what do we need to do? Well, it's just now taking it from where it is today, getting it operational to the point where you're actually making some money, tracking your money, and then eventually going for a refund.
Yeah. So you mentioned one of the drive-throughs isn't operational.
One of them's not operational, right?
But the rest of it's there. It's just not really being marketed. So obviously, there's an amount of money that would need to be put into maybe some AdWords. Getting proper branding, photos done,
teaming up with
website
with a detail company, right? I worked with people in the past, detailers,
and they'll work out of a shop.
100%, they'd love that, right? So detailers or like wrap companies, right? There's a full bay here sitting there. It's like a 2-car garage with no income. So that was very cool. So I like that. And then the second part about it that was very interesting was the excess land. And again, I only got this a day, but within that time, so I went into the zoning, checked the zoning of Stratford. Okay, outdoor storage is allowed, self storage is allowed. So automatically I'm going, great. Okay, so worst case, we sever the thing and you sell it. Let's say we can sell that for $300,000-$400,000, just raw land with that zoning. Well, there's part of your down payment already put back. Right. So that's like worst case scenario. And then
how much did you think you might be able to sell it for?
I would say like $350,000 to $400,000.
Okay.
Just look, again, very rough numbers, back a napkin, just looking at what's for sale right now land-wise. But that feels very safe.
Yeah. And let's just say it's super hypothetical. And again, still shooting from the hip. But say, I think there's going to be an argument for being able to get just the car wash up to like a $200,000 a year revenue.
Very reasonable.
Very reasonable.
I know car washes that we did a deal recently. The car wash gross is bringing in $750,000.
Yeah. So even if you landed, say, on the lower end, 200, maybe even higher than that, if it's 200 and you're a 75% operating margin, and let's face it, like you're really just paying for your soaps, and there's not really much to heat.
So the one I sold just had one employee that would show up, make sure the base
check things.
So they were bringing in $750,000 gross, and their NOI.
Their operating income,
their operating income was $500.
Okay. So say I ran it just at 75%. So say you're keeping $150 before your mortgage. That's almost at 11% cap rate.
Yeah, which is exactly roughly where car washes trade.
Okay, right? so making sense, but I mean, I just think
that's where you're getting your financing.
Brand new car wash. There's some opportunity there, and that's assuming. So I just did at 1.4. So assuming that $400,000 of that value is for the lot next door. Based on what you were just saying. Definitely the car wash seems nice. Now, who knows? Maybe you can make an offer here. Obviously, the guy knows what he has. He's got a relatively new car wash, right?
It's a great little thing. And again, concrete construction, it's great.
All right, Jake. So the next obvious question is, what can we do about that land next door? So we know that the seller wants 1.8 for everything. He seems like he'd be more flexible if, it sounded like from what you described to me, he's already in the process of getting the severance.
He's slowly working on it, right? It's not the top of his list, but it is something he's pursuing.
Okay, so if he's going to sell the whole thing, it's 1.8. Yeah. Looking at the bylaw, you said it does allow for storage. I mean, my next step, and I know this is on your list to do too, would be finding out what are the minimums. Like, does the city have a minimum size for a storage facility if you're going to do that? And that's like, I've seen that in many bylaws where they just have a set minimum. If you're going to build something that conforms to this zoning, your frontage has got to be this. And if you don't meet that, you got to go for minor variance.
That's it. Yeah.
So that's something to consider because it could add time and uncertainty to a deal. But with that being said, if I had a deal that I really liked come across my desk and those are some of the parameters, I might see if I could tie it up conditionally. And I know a guy who did this. He tied a property up conditionally for a year to see if he could get his approvals.
Right.
And then when he got them, he closed. Not everyone's going to let
Full
you do
disclosure,
that.
that's not the case here.
No, yeah. But so these are just might be some of the things I would think about.
Yeah.
Not to say that you can do that in every deal, and it doesn't sound like this seller wants to do that.
No. But this is the way I'm looking at it, right? You're buying a great car wash with a little cherry on top, which is the excess land.
Yeah.
Right. And that is something where in the first year, I think you can take it from where it is today, sever it, and decide what you're going to do with it. Maybe you put a little site plan together for like a 2-story industrial complex or flex use complex.
Yeah.
Right.
What else does the zoning allow for if it's not storage? Do you know?
Like flex use industrial. Right.
Okay,
so
you can put some.
It's not prestige. It's not prestige in like industrial and prestige employment zoning.
Yeah.
But it's similar. Like it's a higher end industrial.
Okay.
Right. They've changed the zoning actually just recently.
Yeah.
And
well, I'd be all over the storage thing.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, self-storage, people love it because it's good in up economies, good in down economies.
It's needed.
It's always needed. People are always moving.
Yeah.
Whether they're downsizing or upsizing.
Yeah.
They're moving.
Similar to car wash. That's why self-storage and car wash for me goes hand in hand. Right. That's what I liked about it.
I think some people might wash their car a little less if they're maybe struggling, but at the same time, maybe they were doing the drive-through and they say, I'll just do the rinse in the bay.
So we're gonna look at that excess land during due diligence.
Yeah.
We're gonna tie it up, look at what we can do.
Walk through some of the things that you would advise a client on if they were going to buy that type of a property. Like, what do they need to be looking out for? What studies should they be getting as a buyer, or are you going to ask the seller for?
Yeah. So first things first, you're going in there. Environmental is very important, right?
Yeah, especially with car wash.
It's going to be number one. You know, one of the things we do have to be cautious of is that this backs onto a residential neighborhood. Yeah. Right. So your setbacks are going to be a little bit further. Your environmental and stuff. You got to make sure it's.
Yeah, so you got to make sure. So you're going to look at what's called a building envelope. I know with storage facilities, a lot of people are doing it now with containers, shipping containers.
And that's what my thought was.
Yeah, and I don't know if the municipality might look at that a little bit differently, and the setbacks might not require the same because they're movable. I don't know. That's something to look into. I think different municipalities are going to have a different sentiment on that. But otherwise, you're going to have a building envelope for a structure that you would build. Yep. You can't forget about the cost about that. But with the storage thing, I love the idea of containers because they're relatively cheap.
And that's where I went with it, because very, very clearly in the zoning, it says it allows outdoor storage. Yeah. Right. Outdoor storage means the storing of movable objects.
Yeah, whatever you want
out in the yard.
Oh yeah, so, that's a pretty flexible sounding zone.
Gravel with a fence and some of those side load storage shipping containers. Yeah. And you're off to the races.
So the key question is on 0.6 acres, how many could you fit? How would you have to orient them? That's something that you got to pull out the pad and paper and start sketching out ideas.
And speak to the city, right? We got to go down. We got to look at the zoning in more depth.
Yeah, like what they might have a maximum if you're going to use containers, or if you're doing storage, you can have max X number of units per hectare. A lot of them will say that. Yeah. So you now have to run that math, okay, and then you always round down. If the number works out to 11.7, now you could do 10.
Yeah. Is it viable, or 11? Is it viable to go that route? Right. So that's something we would do in due diligence. We do the environmental testing.
And then you would have to look up comparable storage facilities. What are they getting on a per unit basis? Like I know I've paid $150, $200 a month for storage. Of course, they have overhead too, but it's also very low. Yeah. You know, car wash and self-storage, they complement well in that they don't really need employees.
Exactly. You could have one employee. Yeah. That's not even full-time, part-time employee.
Yeah, just checking in on both, side by side.
Right now, I know the car wash, you go into the bay and it just says, hey, coin stuck, need this, need that, run out of soap, call this number. Yeah. Right? And then it's
get somebody over there
down the road that's going to run down and fill the soap up.
I love that. I love low labor business. So those who don't know, Jake and I, we have a campground together, Airbnb glamping, full camping operations in Tobermory area. You should definitely check it out and stay there this summer, grottogetaway.com. But that's a very active business. Yeah. What we're talking about here is the far other end of the spectrum.
Note on the wall saying call it.
Yeah, no sticky note. No, full. It's more, people asking for more firewood and such like that. Yeah. I like this. I like the idea of.
We'll do that, Andrew. And then I want to say, right, so I'm not a car wash specialist by any means, but I have a consultant that's in London. I have a car wash consultant. So
what do you mean a car wash consultant?
He manages, operates, and consults on car wash.
So he's just somebody you can hire who does this.
So that's exactly what I would do. Right. If I'm buying this, my first thing would be obviously the typicals. The appraisal.
You help me get this thing going.
Yeah, the appraisal, the environmental, the building condition, which don't even really need because that's where the consultant would come in. And then my very next thing, my next showing is I'm bringing my consultant with me.
Yeah. Right? See, for me, for me, I would go to the consultant unless the bank wanted building condition or I knew a bank would down the road. I wouldn't get it, but I would definitely get the guy in. I mean, even me, because I know structural quite well, I wouldn't. It's not for me, but if the lender needs it, I do it.
It's just like with development. I go to a construction cost consultant, right? I say, hey, how much is this going to cost, right? How much is it costing to do that other bay that's not operational? What's the upkeep on this place? Is the equipment that's here, is it up to date? Is it good? Is it bad? Right? Being that it's only 10 years old, all the equipment, I was there today and it looks great. Like it's all in really good shape.
Okay, so you've already checked this out.
Yeah, I've been there. Yeah, yeah. So, but that would be my next thing, right? We get the consultant in. So you got to kind of look at this as a two-part due diligence, right? Part one is car wash. Part two is development. Yeah, and self-storage.
I love the idea of this. It's a how do you make this deal work? There is obviously going to be a number that it works at for different people because different people will have a different approach. Is this something people can get access to, Jake, this deal?
So it is for sale. It's exclusive.
So this is not on the market?
It's not on the market. It's not on MLS. It's not even being advertised through.
But you heard about it through the grapevine. You've got a line on it.
Yeah. So it's direct. I'm speaking directly with the seller.
Perfect. Okay. So anyone wants more information on this deal, Jake's a licensed realtor here in Ontario, and he's also very knowledgeable, as you can see. There is a link below this video where you can enter your information, and somebody will be in touch.
Sign up. We'll be in touch. You'll get a call from Shannon, and then Shannon will basically find the best suitable time for myself to speak with whoever signs up, and then we can go right into the details of this. One last thing before we go is I want to say, I know we mentioned that it's hard to get financing on these things. My first question to the seller was VTB, vendor take back.
Yeah.
So just before we go, I want to mention it because I don't know the terms of the structure yet. We have to work through that on negotiations. But I don't want somebody out there thinking, oh, well, I don't have 50% down, or I don't have 100%. I don't have 1.8 million in the bank to do this.
Yeah.
That's not necessary. If it's something that interests you, I'd always say reach out, sign up below. We'll get in touch, and then we can see, hey, does this make sense? Or maybe we go look for a smaller car wash or something different, right?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of, I know this is very fresh, you just found out about the deal. Lots of questions to ask, but definitely an interesting at surface level deal, and I'll love to hear more about this as you learn more about it.
Maybe we'll do a follow-up in the future.
Sounds great. Okay, guys, if you made it this far, hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell. Leave us a comment. Ask us some questions, because we're here to answer the questions. I'll answer every question as long as they're manageable, and they are presently, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next video.